When God brings them to Himself to make them His people, it involves a vocation, doesn't it? The vocation, God tells Moses, involves two things. He says, here's what I want you to tell the Israelites. Remember, the whole earth is mine. I've chosen you to be my treasured possession, my special people. And here's why. I need you to do two things. I want you to be my priestly kingdom, and I want you to be a holy nation. What does God want for His people? Two things. Priestly kingdom, holy nation. What does that mean, though, right? That's the thing. So we know what a priest is. A priest is somebody who stands between God and others. And God gave Israel a class of priests, didn't He? And it was the job of the priest to go into the temple and stand between God and everybody else and mediate, right? You bring your sacrifice to the priest, your priest brings it to God on your behalf. God gives forgiveness to the priest, and the priest brings it back to you on God's behalf. He's the middleman. He's the guy who stands in between God and everyone else. And He gave them that class of priests so that they could learn this lesson, that they're not just a people who need priests, they are a nation of priests. You think, well, who are they supposed to be? Mediating between. And the answer's in the text. Who did God just say? Every what belongs to Him? Every nation belongs to Him. But I've chosen you for a unique vocation to be a priestly nation between who? Between me and all the other nations. We've got the priesthood of all believers we talk about. They had the priesthood of all Israelites. Everyone in the nation together was to represent God to all the other nations. They're the middlemen and women. But if you're going to represent God, what do you have to be? That's where the second one comes in. Remember what it was? Priestly kingdom and holy nation. If you're going to represent God, you've got to be holy. Now, if there's one thing these folks aren't, it's what? Holy. They just came out of Egypt. They knew almost nothing about the character of the Creator. They were surrounded by the gods of the Egyptians. Ancient Egypt is one of the most idolatrous places in the history of the world. God says, I want to make you different. And if you read on through the Old Testament, you'll be relieved that we're not just going to work through every one of these little texts on holiness. But if you do, read through Exodus and Leviticus and on into the others, you begin to discover that holiness for God is about embodying His character. Holiness for God isn't just about keeping a list of rules for the sake of the rules. It's about embodying His character. You might take some time this afternoon to read Leviticus 19. Maybe jot that down. And there you hear God say things like, look, I'm holy, so you've got to be holy. I'm the Lord your God. And that means that when you go out to harvest your fields, you save some for people who are just sort of wandering through the land. That's what it says. God says, I've been generous with you. That means you need to be what? With others. Yeah, I blessed you. Share it with some people. God says in Leviticus 19, I said we wouldn't go through all of them. We will go through a couple of them. He said in Leviticus 19, you shall be holy because I, the Lord your God, am holy. And that means you got people who work for you. Don't keep their check till tomorrow. Go ahead and pay them on payroll day. Like, don't hold back the wages of your hired hands is basically what the text says. Right? God doesn't withhold what belongs to other people. He doesn't sort of take advantage of those who are inferior to Him for His own gain. He says, don't make fun of deaf people. Right? You can imagine school kids on, on the playground, and there's a kid maybe who has hearing loss, and you can imagine other kids making fun of them and having, it's easily you can imagine adults doing that probably. Leviticus 19 says, God says in Leviticus 19, you should be holy because I'm the Lord your God, am holy. Don't trip blind people. That's in the Bible. In case you hadn't had quiet time in Leviticus lately, go look it up this afternoon. It's there. Why? Again, God treats people who are at His disadvantage with perfect love. And this is about the people of God embodying His character. Now it says, I'm holy, you got to be holy, you got to treat people right. And notice how much of this is relationally oriented. Right? Look at how the 10 Commandments, which are coming up in the next couple of chapters, are relationally oriented. The first 4 are about your relationship with God. The last 6 are about your relationship with the people sitting around you. And you got to worship God and don't lie to your neighbor or covet their stuff or kill them. Yeah. It's relational, isn't it? So God says, look, if you're going to be my people, I want you to be my people. That involves 2 things. And the first one is, remember, priestly kingdom. Priests stand in between God and other people. It says, you're a nation, you're going to stand between me and the other nations. But if you're going to be my representatives, you also have to be holy.